And I think what matters to the customers at the end of the day is obviously what they can do with it. They don't really care about this wavelength, that much microns or whatnot, but what it translates to. And again, with us, it translates to lower costs and also higher quality. And that's actually what, that's what makes us different, and that's what allows us to actually go to the holy grail of the whole industry.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today we're talking about 3D printing with Ido Eylon. A well-rounded, experienced business executive with international mindset, Ido Eylon is 3DM's CEO and board member. Ido has a vast experience in the additive manufacturing industry in various roles and positions. He started his journey in the industry with Stratasys, where he assumed positions in Israel, North America, and Asia Pacific. Being close to the market and customers, he gained a lot of experience and insights on the industry's landscape. In his last role before joining 3DM, Ido held the position of Vice President, Sales and Marketing in Massivit, leading the company's go-to-market organization worldwide. Ido holds a BSc in Biomedical Engineering from Ben-Gurion University. I'm really excited to have you here, Ido, talking about manufacturing, printing, your own journey, what's been happening in the space over the last several years. Today you're the CEO of 3DM Digital Manufacturing. And so I'm looking forward to uncovering a little bit about this company as well, and how you're fitting into sort of this whole new industry that's emerging and the way that this is shaping our world. And so without further ado, Ido, tell me a little bit about yourself, your journey, what got you into manufacturing in the first place.
Okay, so I'm Ido, as you said. I'm actually part of the 3D printing industry for the last 15 years or so. I started as an applications and pre-sales, if you want, team leader, and that is actually where it started, and that is actually sits in the junction of where technology meets technology and products meets customers and use cases. So that actually got me very excited early on. And again, 15 years ago, it wasn't as known as it is today. Although I must admit that the technologies are actually much older than that. But back then, we had to explain what 3D printing is, and there were very exciting days. I could start a day talking to a doctor, then later on talk to a shoe manufacturer, and then from there to an automotive manufacturer, and then at late night talk to maybe a university. So it really, it was really, and still is, by the way, a very disruptive technology for all type of industries. So it is very, very diverse and very, very interesting, both then and now.
I know 3D printing through, growing up and going to different, hacker, maker stations and having 3D printers there. And on Kickstarter, I remember some of the first 3D printers that became, widely available for consumers. Share with me a little bit about sort of the progress of 3D printing and what change it represents from a manufacturer's perspective. And I'd love to understand both the consumer use cases, like the ones that I perhaps have experienced in the maker space, as well as those of the enterprise use cases or the more global B2B use cases.
Yeah, so it all started, I think, as a very high-tech, technology. It was aimed for enterprises and really industrial use. And mostly around prototyping and maybe model making. Then I think a few years later, maybe a little bit more than a few years later, the technology actually got better, as usually happened with other technologies as well. it got better, and a lot of people and a lot of users, actually, enterprises, wanted to try and. So I think there is a split at that point, right? So the enterprises wanted to use the more of the prototypes. So in terms of like being able to prototype more than the prototype before, but also use it for more than just prototyping. So that was one type of maybe direction. The other direction was actually to get the technology to make it more available, and there were a lot of slogans, like democratization of design and freedom of design, etc. And that was actually bringing the technology to more kind of the masses. And that was where maybe the hackathons and the maker fairs that you mentioned were around that mostly. These both happened kind of like at the same time, roughly. And I think still today, these are maybe the two main streams, and each one goes more and more in its own kind of like direction. I think back then, when we just started, or when the consumer kind of like direction just started, it was there was maybe a dream that everyone would be able to print whatever they want at their own houses. I mean, if you kind of like if you break your glass, then maybe you can print one, etc. I don't think that really happened, and to be honest, I don't think that it will happen at some point in time. What I do think that will happen is that the technology will be more accessible through different, more and more different centralized service providers that would help get the consumers what they need roughly at I'd say at a reasonable time, if you want, but at much higher quality than they could do themselves.
Right.
So it's kind of like what happened also in 2D printing. I mean, I don't know if you own a 2D printer or not, but usually if you need a printout of any document or something like that, you usually go to like a center that can do that. They probably have a better printer than you would purchase your own, and they can actually get you what you need relatively at a higher quality than you would do yourself, and also at a very reasonable time and whatnot, and cost. So
interesting.
This might be, yeah.
The hypothesis that on the consumer side, it's not necessarily going to be a key player for households. Is that something that there's an agreement on? Or are you a contrarian with that view? Where do you stand on the sort of the scale of manufacturing thought leaders that are thinking about the future of this space?
So to be honest, I don't know exactly the answer to your question. I do know that some people would probably disagree with what I said. I do think that the reason that I say it is mostly around the ability to create the content that is then needs to be printed. So I think any kid these days that has a smartphone, or even before then, can create a document or a photograph, for example, to be printed. But it's a little bit still more complicated to create things to be 3D printed. So that is maybe one, I think, one of the most significant, let's say, drawbacks or maybe barriers for that to happen the way that people imagined back then. But still, I think the technology will change almost everybody's life. I mean, for sure, it's already been a few years that you and I both touched, products these days. Just today, that that 3D printing played a key role in their either design, manufacturing, or development stages. So definitely it has a lot of impact in the world, but not necessarily the way that it was imagined back then, specifically on the consumer level. On the enterprise level, actually, I do think that the direction, and this is where 3DM will maybe go into play. On the enterprises level, I do think that the main thought was how to move from prototyping to manufacturing, and how the technology can actually benefit not only prototyping and development cycles, but also actual end-use products manufacturing. And that is, something that I think the leaders of the industry actually are very much engaged with, and very much trying to tackle in order to make the technology much more beneficial for production. It is already in production for many industries. But the scale is probably not as high as people would want to, and also there are more industries to disrupt with this technology. So I don't know
Fantastic.
if that was if that covered what you asked for, but that's kind of like.
Tell me, let's talk about 3DM. So what's this company that you're currently the chief executive officer of? What is sort of its role and its vision?
Yeah, great. So 3DM actually is a 3D printing technology company, and we look at manufacturing. So that's our main interest. We're not so much into the consumer products, but we are creating the cutting edge technologies for production with 3D printing. We're all about plastics, by the way. We did not cover that during my previous answer to your question, but the industry has many different materials. Plastics is probably the biggest in terms of volume, and we're all in plastics. We make technology for selective laser sintering in plastics, as mentioned. And it is all about production, and it's all about manufacturing. The main two barriers for SLS manufacturing these days, in order for the technology to go further into manufacturing for a much greater scale of manufacturing, there are two main barriers. One of them is the quality of the printing, which actually also kind of like splits into the resolution and surface quality, etc. And the other one is also the strength, if you want, or the isotropy of the parts being strong in all different directions. And that is probably maybe the two main differences between what people or consumers would be used to as end-use product and the 3D printed output. And we actually in 3DM deal with these two barriers. We create things that are at higher quality and also at a much lower cost. So these two barriers, the cost and the quality, these are two barriers that we deal with. We create technology that is based on our own laser. So I'll just say that SLS technology, the selective laser sintering technology, is a technology that is out there for a few decades now. We did not invent that technology, but within that category, which is already at the forefront of manufacturing with 3D printing, we actually create our own, let's say, subcategory. We're the only ones that make their own lasers. All SLS manufacturers use off-the-shelf lasers, and they're very limited in terms of the wavelength that they use. We make our own lasers. We control the wavelengths. And that is actually very important for us to be able to aim for the right, let's say, light and material kind of correspondence. And that's how we can actually make our own, lasers with our own dedicated or kind of like programmed or designed wavelengths. So we can actually make the sintering process much better. That results in higher quality and lower cost, and we can do everything much faster. Which again, these are all the things that actually push the technology further into production and manufacturing.
So are those really the elements of a competitive advantage in your space? What you just mentioned, are these sort of the holy grail of what it would mean to become a winner in the space to win the larger contracts, to get, better, I guess, credibility or trust? Because I'm guessing that in this space, there's the people that are ordering, and there is the people that are manufacturing, and then I'm curious as to what it takes to really stand out in a space like this. I'm coming from software, so I'm sure that it's a little bit different in the sense. But how do you stand out in a market where there's a bunch of different offerings, and even if you have the great a different technology, how do you make it known?
Yeah, so it's well, first of all, it's a battle, and we fight this battle, obviously. But yes, we are very much different than any other manufacturer out there at this point in time. We have our own lasers, as I mentioned, and we're very unique with these wavelengths. And I think what matters to the customers at the end of the day is obviously what they can do with it. They don't really care about this wavelength, that much microns, or whatnot, but what it translates to. And again, with us, it translates to lower costs and also higher quality. And that's actually that's what makes us different, and that's what allows us to actually go to the holy grail of the whole industry. Which again, as I mentioned, maybe there are two holy grails. One of them is the consumer level, which we kind of like covered before with, and the other one is the production level, or the mass manufacturing level, which is what we deal with. And for that, then I think the technological advantage that we have is probably the one thing that makes us unique, and the one that makes us very different than others. Of course, on top of that, there are a lot of other things that still needs to be put in place, like distribution and customer satisfaction, things of that sort. But at this point in time, or at this stage of the company, we're very much focused on getting the technology out there, and that is our main competitive edge at this point.
And so, where is 3DM in the space today? In this snapshot of time, what's happening in 3DM?
Okay, so we again, as our core competency, or the capability that we have is in our own lasers. As mentioned before, we are already engaged with some players in the 3D printing industry. We have a few pilots agreements with SLS manufacturers to basically try our technology on their systems, and to be able to go to market with these combined machines and get them to market much faster. That's one path that we go. The other path that we go is to create a very, I would say, market or application dedicated solution. We'll probably not go there our own. We plan on partnering with key players within these industries, and just to be able to tailor the best solution as quick as possible around our technology to make the production better and faster and cheaper for that specific application. On that front, by the way, we're very much different. And again, if you think about the evolution of 3D printing and how it happened, then it was mainly around, let's say, technology. Each company had its own kind of like technology, and kind of like pushed that forward with basically trying to make a general purpose machine that can actually cover as many applications as possible. We're actually very much different in that thinking. We want to create the best solution, tailored solution for a specific application, and if it needs to be product A, it is kind of like released from trying to be able to do product B. So it will be very much dedicated and with capabilities that are very much tailored to a certain application and a certain type of manufacturing. And again, this is also probably a result of the vision of again going into manufacturing, because a machine that needs to do something does not necessarily need to be able to do the other thing as well.
Right, 100%. Where do you find the most joy and satisfaction from what you do? Where is that stemming from for you?
Well, so, as the leader of the company, I think bringing people together around or behind a certain goal and vision is something that I really enjoy doing. And I think, getting things kind of like planned and then executed is probably the most satisfying. So again, I think it's the ability to get a teamwork around or behind a certain goal, and then achieving that goal with good planning and brilliant execution.
I love it, Ido. I really want to thank you for your time and your energy and your effort. And it sounds like 3M is a very special company in the space, and got to learn a lot about 3D printing and the space myself over these 20 minutes. And so just only raises the curiosity around this. So again, thank you for being here and for taking this time to share with me. Best of luck with the continued battle and the continued journey. It sounds like you're definitely enjoying it. So hope you continue enjoying it. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks.
Thank you.